Millions visit the Statue of Liberty every year, but there's one room they'll never see. It's hidden, sealed off, and what's inside was supposed to stay a secret. You know, we all think we know Lady Liberty, that green giant standing in New York Harbor, welcoming the world to America. But here's the thing. She's been keeping secrets, and the room I'm about to show you, well, let's just say it wasn't meant for tourists. Before we dive into this mystery, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what we're about to uncover will change how you see America's most famous symbol. Trust me on this one. The symbol we thought we knew, so yeah. Everyone knows the Statue of Liberty. School trips, history books, postcards. She's everywhere. But most people don't realize that for decades, you could actually climb up into her torch. I'm talking about going way higher than the crown, right up into that flame that lights up New York Harbor. From 1886 until 1916, tourists could make this crazy climb through a narrow ladder system that went straight up into the torch itself. Can you imagine? 30 years of people huffing and puffing their way to the very top of Lady Liberty. But then something happened that changed everything. And that's where a hidden room comes in. The explosion that changed history, alright? So here's where things get wild. On July 30th, 1916, there was this massive explosion on nearby Black Tom Island. We're talking about German saboteurs blowing up ammunition supplies during World War I. The blast was so huge that it shattered windows in Manhattan and damaged the Statue of Liberty. Now, here's the thing. The explosion didn't just crack some windows. It actually damaged the internal structure of the torch, making it unsafe for visitors. So what did they do? They sealed it off. Completely. No more tourist access to the torch. Ever. But here's what they don't tell you in the history books. When they sealed off that torch, they didn't just close a door and walk away. They left behind an entire room, frozen in time, with everything exactly as it was in 1916. The room time forgot. Okay, let's get into it. Inside the torch, there was this small observation room that was basically the ultimate VIP experience back in the day. Picture this. You've just climbed 354 steps, then squeezed through this narrow ladder system, and suddenly, you're standing in this tiny room with windows all around you looking out over New York Harbor like you're on top of the world. But when they sealed it off after the explosion, maintenance workers just left stuff behind. And I mean everything. Tools, photographs, personal items, even graffiti that workers had carved into the walls during construction in the 1880s. The room became like a time capsule. No air circulation, no visitors, no disturbance for over a century. Just this hidden space, sitting there in the torch, collecting dust and secrets, what the workers left behind. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When restoration crews finally accessed the room in recent decades, and I am talking about highly trained specialists, not tourists, they found things that weren't supposed to be there. We're talking about photographs from the early 1900s showing construction workers taking breaks, smoking cigarettes, just hanging out hundreds of feet above the harbor. Think about that for a second. These weren't official photographs. These were personal snapshots that workers took and then forgot about when the room got sealed. But that's not all. They found maintenance logs written in pencil, some dating back to the 1890s. Workers documenting repairs, weather conditions, even personal notes about their families back home. It's like reading someone's diary, except that someone helped build one of the most famous monuments in the world. The graffiti that tells a story. You know what really gets me? The graffiti. And I'm not talking about random tags or anything like that. I'm talking about carefully carved names and dates from the original construction crew. Workers who spent months, sometimes years, building this symbol of freedom, and they left their mark in the one place they thought no one would ever see. Names like Patrick Murphy, 1885, and Giuseppe Romano, proud to build Lady Liberty. These weren't vandals. These were craftsmen, immigrants themselves, working on a statue that represented their hopes for a new life in America. The crazy part. Some of these workers' descendants have no idea their great-great-grandfather helped build the Statue of Liberty, let alone that his name is carved inside the torch, waiting to be discovered. The structural secrets, but here's where things get even more fascinating. The hidden room isn't just about historical artifacts. It's about structural engineering that was way ahead of its time. See, Gustav Eiffel. Yeah, the same guy who built the Eiffel Tower, designed this internal framework system for the statue. And the torch room was basically his testing ground for architectural techniques that would not become common for another 50 years. The room has these weird curved supports, and this ventilation system that was supposed to prevent condensation from damaging the copper exterior. Believe it or not, they were dealing with climate control issues in the 1880s, that we're still figuring out today. The cover-up, that wasn't now. You might be thinking this was some kind of government conspiracy, right? Like they deliberately hid this room for mysterious reasons. But honestly, the truth is way more boring, and somehow more interesting at the same time. After 1916, they just forgot about it. The National Park Service took over in 1933, and by then, most of the original construction records had been lost or misplaced. The room became this administrative blind spot. Everyone knew it existed, but no one really knew what was in there or how to safely access it. It wasn't until the major restoration in the 1980s that they really started exploring these hidden spaces, and what they found was basically a museum of American craftsmanship that had been sitting there, untouched, for 70 years. The modern mystery. Here's the thing that blows my mind. Even today, even with all our technology and documentation, there are parts of the Statue of Liberty that haven't been fully explored. The torch room we're talking about, that's just one of several sealed spaces inside Lady Liberty. There are maintenance areas, structural cavities, and what engineers call dead spaces that haven't seen human visitors in decades. Some of these areas are too dangerous to access without major construction work. Others are just forgotten. Makes you wonder what else is hidden inside America's most famous symbol. You know, the human element. But what really gets to me about this whole story is the human element. Think about it. Every visitor who climbed into that torch room between 1886 and 1916 thought they were seeing something permanent. They thought future generations would make the same climb, see the same view, experience the same wonder. They had no idea they were among the last people who would ever stand in that space. No idea that a war on the other side of the world would seal off their experience forever. It's like a whole piece of American history just vanished overnight. And the workers who left those photographs and tools and personal notes, they probably figured someone would clean up after them eventually. They never imagined their stuff would become historical artifacts, preserved by accident in this hidden time capsule. The restoration dilemma. So here's where things get complicated. When restoration experts discovered all this historical material in the torch room, they faced this impossible choice. Do you preserve everything exactly as you found it, like some kind of archaeological site? Or do you restore the room to its original 1886 condition? They ended up doing something in between. They documented everything. Every photograph, every tool, every piece of graffiti, then carefully preserved the items that were deteriorating. But they left the room essentially untouched. Which means that right now, as I'm talking to you, there's this hidden space inside the Statue of Liberty that's part 1880s construction site, part 1910s tourist destination, and part accidental museum. That's wild, right? The security angle now. There's another reason why this room stays sealed. And it's not just about historical preservation. After 9/11, security around national monuments got way more intense. Even if they wanted to reopen the torch to visitors, the logistics would be a nightmare. Think about it. You'd have to screen every visitor, install modern safety equipment, probably rebuild the entire access system. And for what? So, a few dozen people a day could squeeze into a tiny room that was already considered dangerous back in 1960. But that security concern also means the room stays frozen in time. No visitors means no wear and tear, no contamination, no disturbance of these historical artifacts that were never meant to be preserved in the first place. What this means for America, you know what's really fascinating about this whole story? It's like a perfect metaphor for America itself. On the surface, you've got this massive, impressive symbol that everyone thinks they understand. But when you dig deeper, when you look inside, you find all these hidden layers of history and human experience. The Statue of Liberty isn't just about French engineering and American ideals. It's about Irish and Italian immigrants carving their names where they thought no one would see them. It's about German saboteurs accidentally creating a time capsule. It's about bureaucratic oversight that turned a tourist attraction into an archaeological site. It's messy and complicated and unplanned, just like the country it represents. The future of the secret. So what happens next? Well, the National Park Service has this ongoing project to digitally document every hidden space inside the Statue of Liberty. They're reusing 3D scanning technology to create virtual tours of areas that physical visitors will never see again. Which means that someday soon, you might be able to explore that torch room from your computer. See those worker photographs. Read that century-old graffiti. Experience that view over New York Harbor that has been seen by tourists in over 100 years. But it won't be the same. You know, there's something about a physical space, about breathing the same air and touching the same walls as people from another century. That's what makes this hidden room so special. It's real. It's there, and it's waiting. The hidden America. So the next time you see the Statue of Liberty, whether it is in person or in a movie or on a postcard, remember that she is keeping secrets. Remember that there are hidden rooms and forgotten stories built right into the symbol of American freedom. Because that's the thing about symbols, right? We think we know what they mean, but they're always more complicated than they appear. The Statue of Liberty isn't just about welcoming immigrants or representing liberty. She's also about the workers who built her, the accidents that shaped her, and the secrets she keeps. The hidden room in the torch will probably never be open to the public again. It's too dangerous, too fragile, too valuable as a historical site. But in a way, that makes it even more meaningful. It's like America's ultimate VIP experience. A space that exists, that's real, but that most of us will never see. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some secrets are worth keeping. Maybe some rooms are meant to stay hidden, preserving their stories for the few people brave enough and qualified enough to discover them. If this story changed how you think about the Statue of Liberty, hit that like button. And let me know in the comments, what other famous landmarks do you think might be hiding secrets? And do you and forget to subscribe because we're always digging into the hidden stories behind the places and symbols we think we know. Until next time, remember that the most interesting stories are often the ones hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching, and keep exploring the mysteries around us.